Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I thought that today would be a great day to talk about some safety tips while on the Appalachian Trail. When I did the trail in 2018, I successfully completed the trail and learned a lot along the way, so I'm hoping to share some of that knowledge. So, being a woman that went solo through the trail, it was important to be on guard and have as much just safety precaution as possible. But it's not only for a woman, it's for any hiker, anybody. Anyone could be a target, anyone could run into some trouble, and I wanted to just make a video to maybe address some fears, ease your mind, talk about my experience, and hopefully you can find some of this useful. But I started the trail in 2018 early, February 18th, so I was out there a good portion of the trail alone and solo. There were other hikers around, but it was few and far between. I would spend most of the day hiking on my own and not seeing too many people. Every once in a while, in the very beginning, I was even staying at shelters alone, and so in the beginning, I'll admit, I was quite afraid. I didn't know what to expect or how to handle being out there on my own by myself, especially for that long period of time. So it was a learning curve for me, and I did learn a lot. So here's what I came to. First of all, the trail is very safe. Staying in shelters, being on the trail, being alone, I preferred it. After the initial 2 or 3 weeks of being out there and realizing that I wasn't going to be eaten alive by a bear, I wasn't going to be attacked, I wasn't going to be stalked, then I really got into hiking and getting into the trail and loved it, to the point where I preferred to be at the shelter alone. I preferred to stealth camp. I had no problems doing that, but I was safe about it. I tried to be as careful as I could. Some things to consider. First of all, don't ever tell anybody that you come into contact with or that you're come across that you are actually hiking alone. Always say that you are with a group, that the group's right ahead of you, right behind you, waiting for you. Don't ever allude that you are by yourself, alone, and not around anybody. And I'm talking mainly for locals and people like that strike up a conversation with you and want to know, oh, tell me your story. What's going on? What's your situation? Never allude that you are out there by yourself. That's quite important. Just sometimes it's okay to give a white lie, just for your safety. Another thing that I was always very careful and sure to do was not to camp at a shelter or stealth camp near roads. Small roads or big roads, it didn't matter. I made it a point that if I was near anything like that I would keep hiking until I was further into the trail, where I felt a lot more safe. In my opinion, I feel like if something's going to happen, it's going to happen closer to towns, closer to roads. So, not to be paranoid or scared, but if you have the opportunity to be at a shelter that's 1 or 2 miles away from a road, or hike another 5 or 6 miles, go for the further one, because people that are going to cause trouble are probably not going to go that far. So that was something that I did. As far as protection, no, I did not carry a gun. To my knowledge, I don't know anybody that did carry a gun. I am definitely not opposed to it. Goodness, something's biting my ankles. I'm not opposed to it at all if you know what you're doing and you carry the proper permits, which I've heard is quite extensive to get. But if you have the proper permits to carry a firearm, go ahead and do it. They do get to be heavy. I know people do carry them, and I think that's just perfectly fine. As long as you know what you're doing, you're trained to use it, you know how to use all the safety precautions, you have the proper permits, then go for it. But I personally did not carry a gun. I carried a Taser. I'll link a picture to the one I carried and show you. But this was a powerful Taser, and I felt it was very useful on the trail. There was one instance, well, actually there was a couple instances where I did actually use it, and let me explain that. So I did a lot of stealth camping, and I enjoyed that. I loved being able to hike all day, and then just stop whenever I was ready, whether it be near a shelter or not, especially if I found a really cool place to be on the side of a mountain or whatever. And while stealth camping, there was a couple times where I definitely, it was no question, I knew that there was a bear outside of my tent. I did not go investigate, but I knew he was walking around my tent because I could feel the vibration of his steps. And I wasn't too afraid. I just had my Taser. I zapped it a couple times. As a matter of fact, I put on a podcast that has a very loud male voice that's very excited. I put that on the highest volume, and whatever was around my tent just scattered away and didn't give me any problem for the rest of the time that I stayed there. So that worked out. I ended up doing that a couple times. Let's see. There was this is kind of an embarrassing story, but it was early on in my trek, 2018, when I thru-hiked before, when I was camping. It was a campsite, and there was a few other people that were there, but there was this one gentleman that was way off in the distance, probably about 300 feet away from me. And it was late at night, so when I set up my tent, I just ate my dinner and went to bed. But around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, I kept hearing these really loud, groaning, moaning, loud, like sounded animalistic sounds. And I became absolutely terrified. Again, this was like not even 2 weeks into the trail. So I was not, I guess, very brave yet. So I kept hearing this, and it kept going on and on and on, and I just didn't know what it was. I thought for sure that it was an animal outside my tent. I had my food packed in multiple bags, and multiple bags inside my pack. I thought, oh, they're coming for my food, they're coming for me, this is gonna be my death. So finally I got my Taser, and I had zapped it a couple times, and I still heard it. So whatever it wasn't going away, and I eventually opened my tent to face my fear, and it was that guy 300 feet away yawning. I saw in his tent that he had his light on, and he's rummaging around, and he would just keep yawning. And I was like, oh my gosh. I couldn't believe that was it, but so relieved that it wasn't an animal coming after me. But I was glad I had my Taser. And the only other time that I really was afraid on this trail was when I had to stay in a shelter in Tennessee. I ended up, it was really, really cold. It was snowing. The wind was just going crazy. It was too much snow to set up my tent, so I ended up getting into the shelter shortly after I got to the shelter, and I was by myself, so I thought, okay, great. But a little while later, a local day hiker came in to the shelter to stay as well, and he made me feel extremely uncomfortable. I got bad vibes from him. He kept talking really fast, one story after another. It was just very odd. His erratic behavior was just very uncomfortable and unnerving. He kept using his cell phone, and when he would talk on his cell phone, he would go out of the shelter where I could not hear, and so that was odd. And he also kept sniffing something up his nose. I was pretty sure he was doing some sort of drugs. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to ask. I just really wanted to go to sleep and get up in the morning and get out of there. But he kept telling one story after another, and then he started really making me uncomfortable, saying that a big snowstorm was coming, and that he insists that that we hike to his car in the morning, and that he drives me to a hostel that was not too far away. And I said, no, it's okay, I'll be all right, I appreciate it. And he kept badgering me about it, kept saying over and over, it's too dangerous for you to be out here on this mountain by yourself. It's in this snowstorm. Everybody on the mountain is getting off trail for this storm. I can take you wherever you need to go, and on and on and on. And I just was like getting creeped out. So I slept with that taser in my hand the entire night, and he saw it. Like, I wasn't hiding the fact that I had that, and I was ready to use it. And in that morning, I ended up, luckily, I was okay and everything was fine. But I got up early that morning and got the heck out of there. But I was, again, very happy I had my taser. So that was good. I also had a little knife with me, but I used that for cutting food and stuff when I needed to. I didn't really feel that was too much of a protection or a weapon, but it was good to have. I did have it. I did keep it near me when I needed to, and so that was fine. But that was really the only time that I really was afraid on this trail. I did multiple hitches, didn't have a problem. You know, you want to just check out your situation. Don't rush into anything. Use your intuition. If you get a bad feeling about somebody or something or a situation, don't go. There'll be more hitches. There'll be more opportunities to get to where you need to go. There is nothing saying that you have to take the first hitch or be polite or do anything. Just be careful. Just be careful out there and assess your situation, but don't rush into anything. That was one thing I really tried to be careful of, is take my time, evaluate the situation completely before going into something, and just being as careful as possible. I always had my taser with me, inaccessible, so if I had a problem I could use that, and I didn't have too much of a problem. So let's see. Come on, pups. But the trail is it's not a dangerous place. Dangerous things do happen out there. Things do happen. And another thing I do want to mention and be very clear about is the hiker community is absolutely amazing. In 2018, there was a thru-hiker, that did sexually assault another thru-hiker, and that was an issue. But when I tell you the hiker community came together to protect especially the women, I was blown away with how good they were. The hiker community is great. Whether you start early or later or anytime, once you start meeting people out there, they become your friends. And if something is happening or another hiker is giving other hikers a hard time, everybody was going to know about it, and they really start protecting the women. And that's what happened with me. I didn't know that was going on. I had met that person that did the assault, but I was hiking a lot faster than he was, so I was ahead of him. But he was targeting others as well. So, but they got him, they took care of him. He was off the trail immediately. I'm not sure what happened with that whole situation, but I do know that Fresh Ground, he's a trail angel, one of the biggest trail angels out there. If anything is going down and happening on that trail, he knows about it. He makes everyone aware of it. He really protects the hiking community as much as possible, as well as the whole community in general. I felt like if something was happening, that I would be aware of it, that I would be as protected as possible. I have heard stories of other hikers being obnoxious or confrontational or inappropriate to women, making comments or whatever. And the hiking community, other hikers really step up and put an end to that every time I've noticed that happen or heard of that happening. So I felt completely safe when I was around the group of, or not even around them in proximity, but within a 25-mile range. If I knew a lot of my friends were out there, if something was going on and happening, I knew I was going to be aware of it next time I saw one of them or passed them, and that gave me a lot of comfort. I appreciated that a lot. It doesn't happen very often out there, but it does happen. You just need to be careful and pay attention to your surroundings and in what situations you go into. Be careful who you trust. A lot of times it's the, there's a lot of people that go out on the trail that are going out there for a reason. All of us are in search of something or are trying to get over something, and that is wonderful. But there are some people out there that have some issues that are pretty deep, and you just want to be on guard and careful. And I don't say any of that to scare anybody at all. I felt very safe on the trail. I felt more safe on the trail than I did walking down a highway getting to a town by far. I felt safer, very safe stealth camping. I felt safe as a solo female thru-hiker, and can't wait to do it again in 2021. So don't get me wrong, it's a safe environment out there, but you do have to be careful. You have to be careful anywhere you go, anything you do and anywhere you go in life. I don't think you should limit your life because of fear, but I do think you should pay attention to your surroundings and just be careful to people and situations that are around you. That's all. That's what I did, and I was fortunate. I didn't have any major problems. I had a few scares that I spoke about, but luckily I was okay and good. I will put a link to the taser that I brought on the trail in the description below in case you want to do it. It was a cheap device. It was lightweight. I got it off of Amazon. It was pretty good. So I do recommend having something with you. A lot of people brought mace with them and carried it right on the front of their pack. A lot of people brought a GPS device. I did as well. I had the Garmin InReach with me, and it's a lot of peace of mind knowing that you can reach out to somebody if you needed to, or you had to, or you ran into a problem. So definitely consider that. When I go in 2021 coming up, I will be taking protection devices, and I will also be bringing a GPS device as well. It's just good so that family knows where you are, so they don't worry. Also, that peace of mind knowing that you can reach out for help if you need to, whenever you need to, is great. So hopefully that puts your mind at ease a little bit. That's my experience. Everybody's experience is different. Take what you will from it, and get out there, get hiking, use that gear, get some practice, and I hope everyone is having a good time getting ready for this 2021 hiking season coming up. It's going to be a great year for it, so I can't wait. All right, take care.